Hello, I am Dr. Chanchaldeep Kaur with another interesting and learning episode of B Pharma on the important unit of ultraviolet and visible spectrophotometry, which is very important unit of the section of pharmaceutical analysis 3 of B Pharm 7th semester. Let's start our episode while taking a look at what we are going to learn today. Module 1 Introduction, Module 2 Components of spectrophotometer, Module 3 Types of spectrophotometers, and Module 4 will be conclusion. Module 1 Introduction. Let's start with general introduction about ultraviolet and visible spectrophotometry. The region beyond red is called infrared, while that beyond violet is called as ultraviolet. The wavelength range of UV radiation starts at blue end of visible light 4000 angstrom and ends at 2000 angstrom. Ultraviolet absorption spectra arises from transition of electron within a molecule from a lower level to a higher level. A molecule absorbs ultraviolet radiation of frequency. The electron in that molecule undergo transition from lower to higher energy level. The energy can be calculated by the equation E is equal to h nu ERG. E1 minus E0 is equal to h nu. E total is equal to E electronic plus E vibrational plus E rotational. The energies decreases in the following order. First is electronic, then vibrational, and last rotational. Thus, the energy of the radiation in the visible range is generally 36 to 72 kilocalories per mole, while that in the ultraviolet range goes as high as 143 kilocalories per mole. In UV spectroscopy, molecules undergo electronic transition involving sigma, pi and n electrons. 4 types of electronic transition are possible: sigma-sigma transition, n-sigma transition, n-pi transition and pi-pi transition. The instrument used in ultraviolet visible spectroscopy is called a UV visible spectrophotometer. A spectrophotometer is an instrument that measures the amount of light absorbed by a sample. Spectrophotometer techniques are used to measure the concentration of solutes in solution by measuring the amount of the light that is absorbed by the solution in a cuvette placed in the spectrophotometer. It measures the intensity of light passing through a sample I and compares it to the intensity of light before it passes through the sample denoted by I0. The ratio I by I0 is called the transmittance and is usually expressed as a percentage, that is percentage T. The absorbance A is based on the transmittance. A is equal to minus log percentage T divided by 100%. The UV visible spectrophotometer can also be configured to measure reflectance. In this case, the spectrophotometer measures the intensity of light reflected from a sample I and compares it to the intensity of light reflected from a reference material I0, such as a white tile. The ratio I by I0 is called the reflectance and is usually expressed as a percentage, that is percentage R. The spectrophotometer technique is to measure light intensity as a function of wavelength. It does this by diffracting the light beam into a spectrum of wavelengths, detecting the intensities with a charge coupled device, and displaying the results as a graph on the detector and then the display device. The basic parts of a spectrophotometer are a light source, a holder for the sample, a diffraction grating in a monochromator or a prism to separate the different wavelengths of light, and a detector. A spectrophotometer optically determines the absorbance or transmission of characteristic wavelengths of radiant energy or light by a chemical species in solution. Each molecule absorbs light at certain wavelengths in a unique spectral pattern. Because of the number and arrangement of its characteristic functional groups, such as double bonds between carbon atoms. According to the Beer-Lambert law, the amount of light absorbed at these wavelengths is directly proportional to the concentration of the chemical species. Now we will see module 2, which is components of spectrophotometer. It includes the radiation source, monochromators and filters, sample compartment, detector, recorder. First we will discuss the radiation source. The function of the light source is to provide a sufficient of light which is suitable for marking a measurement. The light source typically yields a high output of polychromatic light over a wide range of the spectrum. Tungsten halogen lamp. It is the most common light source used in the spectrophotometer. This lamp consists of a tungsten filament enclosed in a glass envelope with a wavelength range of about 330 to 900 nanometer are used for the visible region. Due to evaporation of tungsten, life period decreases, which is overcome by using tungsten halogen lamp. Halogen gas prevents evaporation of tungsten. They are generally useful for measuring moderately dilute solutions in which the change in color intensity varies significantly with changes in concentration. It has long life, about 1200 hours. Second is hydrogen discharge lamps. For ultraviolet region, hydrogen discharge lamp consisting of 2 electrodes contained in deuterium filled silica envelope is used. Their range is approximately 200 to 450 nanometer. Deuterium arc lamp, which is continuous over the ultraviolet region, 190 to 400 nanometer. Radiation emitted is 3 to 5 times more than the hydrogen discharge lamps. Deuterium lamps are generally more stable and has long life, about 500 hours. This lamp generates continuous or discontinuous spectral. Next is xenon arc or discharge lamp, which is continuous from 160 to 2000 nanometer. In xenon discharge lamp, xenon is stored under pressure in 10 to 30 atmosphere. Can emit both UV and visible wavelengths, has long life, do not heat up the instrument and reduces warm up time. Next is light emitting diodes or LED for the visible wavelengths. It is important that the power of the radiation source does not change abruptly over its wavelength range. The electrical excitation of deuterium or hydrogen at low pressure produces a continuous UV spectrum. Both deuterium and hydrogen lamps emit radiation in the range 160 to 375 nanometer. UV visible spectrophotometer have both deuterium and tungsten lamps. Selection of lamp is made by moving lamp mounting or mirror to cause the light fall on monochromator. Second is monochromators and filters. Monochromators. In order to isolate the radiation of the desired wavelength from wavelength of the continuous spectra filters, monochromators or both are used. Monochromator accepts polychromatic input light from a lamp and outputs monochromatic light. Next is filters. Filters separate different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum by absorbing or reflecting certain wavelengths and transmitting other wavelengths. They are of two types. Absorption filters. They work by selective absorption, example glass filters and gelatin filters. Second, interference filters, example interferometric filters. Absorption filters are glass substrates containing absorbing species that absorb certain wavelength. A typical example is a cut-on color filter which blocks short wavelength light such as an excitation source and transmits longer wavelength light such as fluorescence that reaches a detector. Interference filters are made of multiple dielectric thin films on a substrate. They use interference to selectively transmit or reflect a certain range of wavelengths. A typical example is a band pass interference filter that transmits a narrow range of wavelengths and can isolate a single emission line from a discharge lamp. Examples of filters: glass filters, made from pieces of colored glass which transmit limited wavelength range of spectrum, has wide bandwidth of 150 nanometer. Gelatin filters consist of mixture of dyes placed in gelatin and sandwiched between glass plates, has bandwidth of 25 nanometer. Next is interferometric filters, has bandwidth of 15 nanometer. All monochromators contain the following component parts: an entrance slit, a collimating lens, a dispersing device, that is a prism or a grating, a focusing lens, and exit slit. Types of monochromators: prisms and diffraction gratings. Prisms. Prism bends the monochromatic light. Amount of deviation depends on wavelength. They produce non-linear dispersion. Prism is used to isolate different wavelengths. If a parallel beam of radiation falls on a prism, the radiation of two different wavelengths will be bent through different angles. Prism may be made of glass or quartz. The glass prisms are suitable for radiation essentially in the visible range, whereas the quartz prism can cover the ultraviolet spectrum also. It is found that the dispersion given by glass is about 3 times that of quartz. Next is diffraction gratings. Diffraction grating is an optical component with a regular pattern which splits or diffracts light into several beams traveling in different directions. The directions of these beams depend on the spacing of the grating and the wavelength of the light, so that the grating acts as a dispersive element. The diffraction grating disperses the light into a linear spectrum of its component wavelengths, which is then directed in whole or in part along the light path of the instrument. Focusing devices. Combinations of lenses, slits and mirrors are known as focusing devices. Variable slits also permit adjustments in the total radiant energy reaching the detector. The Turner monochromators and their variations are combinations of prisms or gratings and focusing devices. Optical materials. Mirrors. For X-rays, ultraviolet rays and visible rays, aluminium is used as mirror material. For near-infrared rays, gold, and for infrared, copper or gold is used. Lenses. For X-rays, fused silica is used as material for lenses. For ultraviolet rays, sapphire. For visible rays and for infrared rays, glass is used. Third is sample compartment or absorption cell. A variety of sample cells available for UV region. The choice of sample cell is based on the path length, shape, size, the transmission characteristics at the desired wavelength, the relative expense. The cell holding the sample should be transparent to the wavelength region to be recorded. Quartz or fused silica cuvettes are required for spectroscopy in the UV region. Silicate glasses can be used for the manufacture of cuvettes for use between 350 to 2000 nanometer. The thickness of the cell is generally 1 centimeter. Cells may be rectangular in shape or cylindrical with flat ends. Samples for UV or visible spectrophotometry are most often liquids, although the absorbance of gases and even of solids can also be measured. Samples are placed in a transparent cell known as a cuvette. Cuvettes are typically rectangular in shape, commonly with an internal width of 1 centimeter. This width becomes the path length in the Beer-Lambert law. Test tubes can also be used as cuvettes in some instruments. The type of sample container used must allow radiation to pass over the spectral region of interest. The most widely applicable cuvettes are made of high quality fused silica or quartz glass because these are transparent throughout the UV visible and near infrared regions. Glass and plastic cuvettes are also common, although glass and most plastics absorb in the UV, which limits their usefulness to visible wavelengths. Next is detectors. Any photosensitive device can be used as a detector of radiant energy. The photocell and phototube are the simplest photodetectors, producing current proportional to the intensity of the light striking them. Three common types of detectors are used: barrier layer cell, photocell detector and photomultipliers. The examples of detectors are photomultiplier tube, photodiode array or a charge coupled device which is known as CCD. Single photodiode detectors and multiplier tubes are used with scanning monochromators which filter the light so that only light of a single wavelength reaches the detector at one time. The scanning monochromator moves the diffraction grating to step through each wavelength so that its intensity may be measured as a function of wavelength. Fixed monochromators are used with CCDs and photodiode arrays. As both of these devices consist of many detectors grouped into one or two dimensional arrays, they are able to collect light of different wavelengths on different pixels or groups of pixels simultaneously. Photovoltaic cells, barrier layer cells. It consists of flat copper or iron electrode on which semiconductor such as selenium is deposited. On the selenium, a thin layer of silver or gold is sputtered over the surface. A phototube or photoelectric cell is a type of gas-filled or vacuum tube that is sensitive to light. Such a tube is more correctly called a photoemissive cell to distinguish it from photovoltaic or photoconductive cells. Phototubes were previously more widely used but are now replaced in many applications by solid-state photodetectors. The photomultiplier tube is one of the most sensitive light detectors. Photomultiplier tubes, members of the class of vacuum tubes and more specifically vacuum phototubes, are extremely sensitive detectors of light in the ultraviolet, visible and near infrared ranges of the electromagnetic spectrum. It is generally used as a detector in UV spectrophotometer. It is the combination of photodiode and electron multiplier. It consists of evacuated tube, contains a photocathode, has 9 to 16 electrodes known as diodes. These detectors multiply the current produced by incident light by as much as 100 million times, that is 160 dB, in multiple dynode stages, enabling, for example, individual photons to be detected when the incident flux of light is very low. Unlike most vacuum tubes, they are not obsolete. A photodiode is a semiconductor device that converts light into current. The current is generated when photons are absorbed in the photodiode. A small amount of current is also produced when no light is present. Photodiodes may contain optical filters, built-in lenses, and may have large or small surface areas. Photodiodes are similar to regular semiconductor diodes, except that they may be either exposed to detect vacuum UV or X-rays, or packaged with a window or optical fiber connection to allow light to reach the sensitive part of the device. Many diodes designed for use specifically as a photodiode use a PIN junction rather than a PN junction to increase the speed of response. Silicon PIN photodiodes, photovoltaic V series, blue enhanced for spectral range from 350 nanometer to 1100 nanometer, designed for low noise, DC to medium bandwidth applications. Active areas range from 31 mm square to 100 mm square. Applications include low light level measurements, particle counting, chemical and analytical measurement and detection. Second, gallium nitride UV detectors. This family of gallium nitride UV detectors are Schottky processed, fully passivated UV photodiodes. Spectral range from 200 nanometer to 365 nanometer and is ideal for UVA or UVB sensing applications and is packaged with a quartz window. Display devices. The data from a detector are displayed by a readout device such as an analog meter, a light beam reflected on a scale, or a digital display or liquid crystal display LCD. The output can also be transmitted to a computer or printer. In next module, we will see various types of spectrophotometers. There are two major classes of spectrophotometer devices: single beam and double beam. Single beam spectrophotometer systems. The components and their placements could be well understood by following diagrams. Figure 1. Figure 1 shows the diagrammatic representations of single beam spectrophotometer systems. Now we will discuss single beam systems. The single beam spectrophotometer was the first invented and all the light passes through the sample. In this case, to measure the intensity of the incident light, the sample must be removed so all the light can pass through. This type is cheaper because there are less parts and the system is less complicated. This was the earliest basic design and is still in common use in both teaching and industrial labs. The light source, comprising of a hollow cathode lamp, emits a sharp atomic line of the element whose determination is required. The light is modulated, that is switched on and off rapidly by means of a rotating chopper located between the light source and the flame. Modulation can also be achieved by pulsing the power, that is switched on and off rapidly, to the light source. Modulation serves to differentiate the light coming from the source lamp from the emission from the flame. The modulated light is led to the flame where ground state atoms of the element of interest are present, and after absorption is led to the monochromator, which isolates the wavelength of interest which is then led to the detector. Advantages: single beam instruments are less expensive, high energy throughput due to non-splitting of source beam results in high sensitivity of detection. Disadvantages: instability due to lack of compensation for disturbances like electronic circuit fluctuations, voltage fluctuations, mechanical components instability, or drift in energy of light sources. Such drifts result in abnormal fluctuations in the result. Now we will see double beam systems. The light beam from the source is split into sample beam and reference beam by the mechanical chopper. The reference beam monitors the lamp energy, whereas the sample beam reflects sample absorption. The observed absorbance measurement is the ratio of the sample and reference beams which are recombined before moving to the monochromator. This arrangement compensates the effects due to drift in lamp intensity, electronic and mechanical fluctuations which affect both the sample and reference beams equally. In a double beam instrument, the light is split into two beams before it reaches the sample. One beam is used as the reference, the other beam passes through the samples. The reference beam intensity is taken as 100%, transmission or zero absorbance, and the measurement displayed is the ratio of the two beam intensities. Some double beam instruments have two detectors, that are photodiodes, and the sample and reference beam are measured at the same time in other instruments. The two beams pass through a beam chopper which blocks one beam at a time. The detector alternates between measuring the sample beam and the reference beam in synchronism with the chopper. There may also be one or more dark intervals in the chopper cycle. In this case, the measured beam intensities may be corrected by subtracting the intensity measured in the dark interval before the ratio is taken. Figure 2 shows the diagrammatic representation of double beam spectrophotometer systems. Now we will see the advantages of double beam systems. Modern improvements in optics permit high level of automation and offer the same or even better level of detection as compared to earlier single beam systems. Has high stability because reference and sample are measured virtually at the same moment in time. Instability factors due to lamp drift, stray light voltage fluctuations do not affect the measurement in real time. Little or no lamp warm-up time is required. This not only improves throughput of results but also conserves lamp life. We have seen that the double beam system design features far outweigh the advantages offered by single beam systems. Disadvantages: higher cost, lower sensitivity because throughput of light is poorer because of the more complex optics, and lower reliability because of the greater complexity. Samples should be in solution. Mixture of substances poses difficult to analyze and requires prior separation. Interference from the sample's matrix makes the measurement difficult. A double beam spectrophotometer compares the light intensity between two light paths, one path containing a reference sample and the other the test sample. A single beam spectrophotometer measures the relative light intensity of the beam before and after a test sample is inserted. Although comparison measurements from double beam instruments are easier and more stable, single beam instruments can have a larger dynamic range and are optically simpler and more compact. Additionally, some specialized instruments such as spectrophotometers built onto microscopes or telescopes are single beam instruments due to practicality. Split beam. The split beam spectrophotometer is similar to the double beam spectrophotometer, but it uses a beam splitter instead of a chopper to send light along the blank and sample paths simultaneously to two separate but identical detectors. Thus, blank and sample measurements can be made at the same moment in time. Spectra are measured in the same way as with a double beam spectrophotometer. The advantage of this design is good stability, though not as good as a double beam instrument because two detectors can drift independently, and good noise, though not as good as a single beam instrument because the light is split so that less than 100% passes through the sample. Other specialized instruments are, these include attaching spectrophotometers to telescopes to measure the spectra of astronomical features. UV visible microspectrophotometers consist of a UV visible microscope integrated with a UV visible spectrophotometer. A complete spectrum of the absorption at all wavelengths of interest can often be produced directly by a more sophisticated spectrophotometer. In simpler instruments, the absorption is determined one wavelength at a time and then compiled into a spectrum by the operator. By removing the concentration dependence, the extinction coefficient can be determined as a function of wavelength. Microspectrophotometers are used in the semiconductor and micro-optics industries for monitoring the thickness of thin films after they have been deposited. In the semiconductor industry, they are used because the critical dimensions of circuitry is microscopic. Now we come to the conclusion. With all these information here, we come to end of today's lecture. Hope we have understood the concepts, principles and instrumentation part of UV visible spectrophotometry. Further, have a look again on the complete topic yourself so that you are thorough with it. The topic that we have discussed today is very simple and good. It is very useful as it's the important part of our analytical estimations. So dear students, this is Dr. Chanchal taking leave from you with the hope that you enjoyed and understood today's lecture. We will continue in our next lecture with the next topic. If you want to learn more and enhance your knowledge, you may log on to our website for MCQ, quizzes, LORs, www.cec.nic.in. Till then, keep studying. Goodbye.